And Jonathan Gannon's going to have one of his best schemes drawn up. I asked you about advice for Hurts. What would you talk to Jonathan Gannon about? From all your years in the NFL, what would you talk to him about trying to do in this game against Tom Brady and that still stacked, regardless of how many injuries they have, Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense?
Well, he needs a younger Fletcher Cox. He needs Fletcher to have one of his better games. He needs Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox to have good games because they need pressure right up the gut. They need that quick pressure where, you got Brady throwing the ball away and starting to get mad, and Brady gets frustrated. He doesn't say anything, but you can see it with his face and everything that he's mad at his offensive line because he had to throw the ball away and he's getting hit a number of times. So that's the way they got to start out. And whatever they've got to do, if they've got to blitz up the middle, they got to do that, and they got to take some chances. And if they get picked up, they could end up giving up a big play. But that's what they've got to do. They can't afford to just let him sit back there and pick them apart. So they've got to get some pressure on him early, and that's going to really be key parts of the game. And I think Jonathan Gannon, he's got to take some chances. He's got to go after him with some extra guys. So, you want to send some of your better blitzers, and Jannard Avery is probably the guy I would want to see going. And, they got to have good games from Josh Sweat, the guys outside, Derek Barnett. The defensive line they're on the clock. They got to come up with a great game. And Jonathan Gannon will give them some help, but they got to do it themselves as well.
What do you think changed for this Eagles team midway through the season, defensively speaking? I know that they played a really easy schedule, and as a matter of fact, the Bucs and the Eagles had like the two easiest schedules in the second half of the season. But did you see anything done by Jonathan Gannon in order to make this a better defense?
Oh, yes, he did. One thing he did, he went to a 5-man front. So what that did was, and you can tell, this came after he had to talk with Fletcher Cox, where Fletcher was complaining about being double teamed all the time. Mm-hmm. So when you get in a 5-man front, basically what it does is it makes the offensive line, they all got to pick up the guy one man to man. Now, they will get help from tight ends and running backs at times, but for the most part, they got to block, especially the guys in the middle. They got to block those guys one-on-one. And that has helped them to get that quick pressure on the quarterback. And they've had success with that, going with that 5-man front. And they really add Jannard Avery to one of the ends. That's what they do. And with the 5-man front, it forces the opposing team to block single block all of your pass rushers. And it's been successful. But that does mean that you don't have as many guys back there in coverage. But you know what? If it means getting quick pressure on the quarterback, you got to give something else. And so they got to give up something. And Jannard Avery, that's where he's been having success. And the rest of the line with Josh Sweat and all the rest of them, when they force them to single block them, that's when they've had pass rush success.
Gotcha. Were you surprised at all that Jonathan Gannon was already getting head coaching consideration?
Yeah, I'm surprised by it. But he's a young guy who I guess, he's hot right now. I think he's growing. I think eventually he will be a head coach. And I like the way he's progressed this year because he has mixed things up. He's showed a lot of different looks subtly. And that's what he's going to have for Tom this week. The thing is, Tom has seen everything, so he'll probably get rid of the ball. But the big thing the Eagles have got to do is they've got to just play good football. That means when you are one-on-one, you got to beat your man sometime. Mm-hmm. If they have you play man-to-man coverage in the secondary, you got to cover your man. We got to play man-to-man sometime. I'm sorry. You can't tell guys, oh, coach, we're in man-to-man. Hello. The reason you're over here making the money you're making is because you can cover people. So cover your man. And they're going to have to play some man-to-man because, Tampa's too good to just sit in that zone. Tom will pick them apart because they don't play zone well. There are some teams that play a real stingy zone. The Eagles have not learned to play that stingy zone. They just drop off everybody and give everything away. And that's not really the way you're supposed to play zone. But they don't play zone well. Mm-hmm. They got to play man-to-man. And they got to get somebody home. Somebody's got to get home. That means they got to get to Brady. And that ultimately is what the game's going to come down to.